On the news tonight, INEC extends voter registration till July 31. PDP makes case against INEC, APC and Labour parties, seeks disqualification of Shatima and Baba Ahmed as VP candidates. And Nigeria's inflation rate hits 5-year high at 18.60%. Many thanks for joining us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended the continuous voter registration to July 31. Chairman of INEC Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, disclosed this in a statement issued on Friday. He explained that the decision followed a recent court judgment that paved way for the extension. Okoye added that the verdict has affirmed that INEC is at liberty to appoint a date of its choice to suspend the CVR, provided it is not later than 90 days before the date fixed for the general election, as provided in Section 9(6) of the Electoral Act of 2022. According to him, all legal encumbrances have now been removed following the judgment of the Federal High Court. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has kicked off the distribution of sensitive materials needed for Osun governorship election to the 30 local government areas of the state. The exercise was supervised by the State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Abdul Ghani Raji, amid tight security. The sensitive items include Bimodal Voter Accreditation System (BVAS), ballot boxes and papers, as well as other materials. While speaking with newsmen, the Resident Electoral Commissioner explained that the distributed materials will be taken to the registration centers in all the local government areas in the state to prevent late arrival at the polling units on Saturday.
These materials have been under very heavy security since the days we brought them, and on the arrival of these materials, we invited the party agents. You witnessed the arrival. Is that also? Yes, so exactly. Including the IPAC chairman. The process we are going to follow, we have the local governments that are far away will be the ones to be loaded. So don't expect that we will load alphabetically. Early today, we have loaded the BVAS into the vehicles. BVAS is also a sensitive material. Then the ballot papers will now be loaded, and then each local government will be moving. We expect that within 2-3 hours, we will have completed the movement.
We're still in Osun State. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Alkali-Baba, has reassured the people of Osun State on the readiness of the Nigeria Police Force to enforce a peaceful voting exercise in the state. The Inspector General of Police was represented by the Deputy Inspector General in charge of Southwest, Johnson Kokumo, made this known during a joint security operatives press conference held at the state police headquarters in Osogbo, Osun State capital. While urging the people of Osun to be law-abiding and report any criminal activities to the security agencies, he emphasized that the security agents would clamp down on vote buying, saying the act contravenes the Electoral Act law.
One very important thing that has been a source of serious worries to those of us in the security arena is the buying of votes. We will leave no stone unturned to ensure that those who are involved in buying and selling of votes are brought to book. We will stop at nothing to fish them out wherever they are, arrest them and process them through the courts. Let me therefore seize this opportunity to appeal to members of the public to give us information, credible information, that will lead to the arrest of those who are actually involved. The security agencies are ready, well prepared, fully prepared to provide an enabling environment to provide a conducive atmosphere for the conduct of free, fair, and of course, transparently credible 2022 Osun State gubernatorial election.
Now, to give an update on the developments and preparations ahead of the Osun Guba poll on Saturday, TV360 correspondent Jide Olaniro joins us live from Osogbo, the Osun State capital. Jide, thank you very much for joining us. Now, can you tell us what's happening in Osogbo right now? What's going on in terms of preparations for Saturday?
Yes. Of course, everything seems to be at, people are getting set. Everybody seems to be ready from the perspective of the police to the INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission. The political parties have had their campaigns. It ended yesterday. So right now, the job is strictly for the security apparatus to be put in place, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and aside from that, the civil societies have also had their own say in these particular elections. They've had conferences where they've spoken to journalists about their feeling, their observation about the election. And from everything, in fact, from the report that we sent back to Lagos, you could see that the police have told the world that they are ready on the part of INEC too, while distributing sensitive materials. They have been able to ascertain that they are ready for the elections tomorrow. And we can only wish for the best. But the way it is, everything seems to be calm. There is no signs that there will be any, maybe there will be any eventuality tomorrow, but we are just keeping tab on situations here in Osun State, especially the capital, Osogbo, where we are.
Now, definitely, electoral violence is perhaps one of the most, the biggest concern in this election tomorrow. Civic society organizations have raised concerns over this. They've also raised concerns over vote buying in Osun State. What's the general mood like in the state? Are there fears of electoral violence in tomorrow's elections?
Yeah. For election violence, we can't really say much until tomorrow because in the build-up to the election, like some of the civil society organizations have observed, they've observed that there have been cult clashes, they've observed the use of thuggery. Some of those things that that are likely to mar the elections, they have some of those things they have highlighted while they were talking to the media. But from what we've seen, how the police are mapping out their strategy. For example, we've been to some places around the states, and we could see heavy presence of security officials from the police, civil defense, as well as the military. I know that you are aware that, in fact, there is a particular case of whether the Southwest Security Network, the Amotekun, will be involved in this election, but all that has been put to end. There is a court case as regards that, and the court case is that the Southwest Security Network, Amotekun, will not be involved in this election, and that means that is just to forestall if there will be any occurrence of breakdown of law and order. So I feel that if that has been paid to, then there shouldn't be any cause for worry.
Well, Jide, we'll definitely get back to you for more updates, but thank you very much for this update. Thank you so much for your time. Well, that was TV360 correspondent Jide Olaniro giving us some updates on some of the happenings in Osogbo, the Osun State capital, ahead of Saturday's election. Also on politics, the People's Democratic Party has instituted a lawsuit compelling the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to prevent All Progressives Congress presidential candidates Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Labour Party standard-bearer Peter Obi from replacing their running mates with Senator Kashim Shettima and Senator Dati Baba Ahmed, respectively. The PDP is also asking the courts to declare that Tinubu and Obi disqualified unless they contest along their previous running mates, Kabiru Masari and Doyin Okupe, respectively. And Tinubu had nominated Masari as a temporary running mate in order to beat the June 17 INEC deadline. Obi had also nominated his campaign manager Okupe as an interim running mate. However, INEC gave a grace period of about 1 month to substitute their names. But after weeks of consultations, Tinubu and Obi nominated Shettima and Baba Ahmed respectively, while Masari and Okupe resigned. The PDP is now asking the court to determine if Tinubu and Obi are bound by the submission of Masari and Okupe respectively as their running mates. To make sense of all of this, legal expert Monday Ubani joins me now. Thank you very much for joining us. Monday, what do you make of the lawsuit instituted by the PDP? Do they have a case against the defendants?
Without the possibility of success of that particular suit against the vice presidential candidates of the parties, both Labour and APC, because one, INEC, that is in charge of managing the electoral process, has given them that opportunity in their electoral guideline to probably place what they call a placeholder in order for them to consult widely before making the choice of who is going to be the vice presidential candidate. And as a timeline that they were given within which to ensure that they comply with the nomination of the vice presidential candidate, which they have timelessly complied with. So I don't know why the PDP want to distract themselves now instead of probably going into serious of strategy how to win the election in 2023 by feeling that by going to court to ask the court to disqualify the vice presidential candidate will be able to get power to the backdrop. So to me, it is clearly an unnecessary lawsuit which will not have any much impact in terms of positive results for them.
Well, legal expert Monday Ubani, thank you very much for your time. Fortunately, that's all we can take on that topic, but thank you so much for your contribution. Barely 24 hours after the collapse of an abandoned building at Okiari area of Mushin on Wednesday, officials of the Lagos State Building Control Agency on Thursday stormed the entire length and breadth of Mushin area to uncover more distressed structures for demolition. During the monitoring and compliance exercise, occupants of a 3-floor highly distressed residential commercial structure earlier marked for demolition at number 22 Ojuwole Street, Mushin area of the state were evacuated. Leading the officials of the agency during the exercise, the Director of Enforcement, Olaupa Olushoji, said the monitoring and compliance exercise was part of the agency's routine mandate aimed at nipping in the bud incessant building collapses in the state.
We are here as part of our proactive measure to prevent building collapse and save lives and properties as much as we can. We are here today to ensure the evacuation of this distressed building. This building in Ojuwoye Street that's also being used as both residential and a commercial building is seriously distressed. The necessary notices has been served for people to quit long ago, even before now. But of course, we know our people. Some people could be very difficult, to compel to move out. But today, we have come to sound them the last note of warning to evacuate because this building is seriously under danger.
we are expecting them to bring the result. They come here to come and test every inside the room and the building, but we are expecting them to bring the result. So that is what we are waiting for. Since that time, we are not seeing them. So we are now seeing them now. They say they want to demolish the house.
4 young authors of I-Rise Model Primary School have launched a book, Wellbeing, a collection of stories based on the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. The storybook brings to the front burner major social issues within the society, as well as the roles and responsibility of parents towards creating a healthy environment for children and the world at large. Our correspondent, Simisola Adigun, who attended the book launch, brings in this report.
It is rare to see young writers within the preteen age bracket, especially in Nigeria. But these child authors have shown that there is no minimum age requirement to sit at the bestsellers table. 4 primary 6 students of I-Rise Model College, who are also members of the I Read Book Club, have put together interesting stories in a book titled Wellbeing, with major focus on 5 of the UN Global Goals, including no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, and gender equality. These goals serve as the background of their book. Giving a sneak peek into their stories, these 4 young girls say they desire to make a change through writing.
What inspired me to write the book was that the goal I wrote on is no poverty. And why I wrote on no poverty is because I always see young adults without a skill, they are poor. So I wonder why they don't have a skill. So I wrote on this book for them to learn a skill.
I wrote about a boy, Praise, who was sick of malaria. Then they got a doctor. The doctor prescribed drug for him. She first did tests before she prescribed the drug. My message is that even though the people know that that's the sickness, they should still go for tests to be sure about it.
I wrote on quality education. I wish to pass across that even though your parents don't have the money to pay for your school fees, for you to attend a private school, you can still go to public school. And always encourage anyone you see on the street, maybe when you are sick or something, if they are not going to school, please always encourage them that they should go to school at least. Even though it's not private school, they can go to public school.
I wrote about marriage is not for girls. What inspired me to write the story is that men are giving out their young girls to elderly men. So I don't want that to happen. That's what inspired me to write my stories.
The success of the book is not without the support of the Nigerian Copyright Commission. The Director General of the NCC, John Asien, says young writers in Nigeria must be encouraged and their talents nurtured.
This whole idea came up when we were celebrating the World IP Day in April, and the Nigerian Copyright Commission made a commitment to assist the 4 young primary school children who had written some stories. The 4 wonderful authors, they all girls, and they've shown what they can do, and we've made a commitment to continue to support them to bring out the best in them.
On her part, the Chief Executive Officer of the I Read Book Club, Fumi Ilori, says the society must empower girls with information and knowledge in order to fulfill their potential.
It's very important for us to empower girls. One of the messages, one of the stories that one of them wrote was marriage is not for girls. The fact that we just look at girls and say, oh, these ones can wait, the boys can achieve. But no, look at what these young girls have done. It means we can empower more girls. If you empower a girl, you'd empower a nation. And I feel really proud that they have not just written stories, they have written stories on the Sustainable Development Goals.
The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, adopted by world leaders in 2015, embody a roadmap for progress that is sustainable and leaves no one behind. Simisola Adigun, TV360, Lagos.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Biden to meet Saudi Crown Prince amid criticism and oil tensions. Details of the story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has extended the continuous voter registration to July 31. Chairman of INEC Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, explained that the decision followed a recent court judgment that paved way for the extension. We also told you that the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has instituted a lawsuit compelling the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to prevent All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Labour Party standard-bearer Peter Obi from replacing their running mates with Senator Kashim Shettima and Senator Dati Baba Ahmed, respectively. The PDP is asking the court to determine if Tinubu and Obi are bound by the submission of Masari and Ukukpe, respectively, as their running mates. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletins, for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. The number of people testing positive for COVID-19 in the UK has risen 29% to almost 3.5 million, latest figures have shown. In England, an estimated 2.8 million people had coronavirus in the week to 6th of July, according to the Office for National Statistics. There were 334,000 cases in Scotland, 183,500 in Wales and 107,600 in Northern Ireland. The total is the largest since mid-April and 29% higher than last week's 2.7 million, but remains well below the UK's record high of 4.9 million reported at the end of March. At least 5,000 people have been newly vaccinated in Namibia in the last 2 weeks since the country's military announced that new recruits should have evidence of taking COVID-19 jabs. The army has defended the vaccine requirement, saying that the training takes place in crowded environments, making it easier for transmission. The Ministry of Defense had announced that it was looking for 1,500 new members. The authorities hope that the uptake would convince others who have been hesitant to come forward. In Namibia, only 17% of the country's 2.5 million people has been vaccinated. I will take another breather here and return with more stories. To stay with us. Well, in business stories, Nigeria's inflation rate in the month of June 2022 has increased to 18.60% on a year-on-year basis. The National Bureau of Statistics disclosed this in its Consumer Price Index for June 2022 report. Meanwhile, composite food index experienced a similar increase, rising to 20.60% in June 2022 on a year-on-year basis. According to the NBS, the rate of changes in food prices was due to the higher food prices volatility caused by COVID-19. The agency also explained that the rise in the food index was caused by increases in the prices of bread and cereals. Rising insecurity, low COVID-19 vaccination intake, as well as liquidity constraint has been identified as some of the major challenges militating against Nigeria's economic growth. President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, Michael Olawale, made this known at the Chamber's Economic and Business Outlook. Also speaking at the event, the Director General Budget Office of the Federation charged the private sector to improve their representation at the nation's lawmaking chambers. He explained that adequate representation would help protect their interests and ensure that laws enacted would be in their favor.
The Chamber had earlier in the year projected a growth of 2.5% for our economy. This projection was anchored on the assumption of 1, sustained high oil prices, B, transition to a market-reflective exchange rate system, 3, targeted fiscal interventions, and D, gradual implementation of reforms in the oil sector. However, while these factors appear somewhat realistic, factors such as rising security tension, lingering liquidity constraints in the currency market, low vaccination rate all over the country, and the lack of will to follow through with the critical reforms are the major downside risk to the country's near-term outlook.
The private sector needs to invest in having watchmen in the National Assembly, people who resume there that, follow. There's no legislation without public hearing. So all of these laws that come out with taxes and whatever, and by the time they come out, we're complaining, it's too late. It's already the law, it's signed, it's law. So, we need to be growing at least at rates twice our current growth rates for the people to even begin to feel, the impact.
We'll take a breather here and return with a review of the stock market. Just stay with us. The Nigerian exchange made a recovery on the last day of trading, closing in the greens at 1.71% as market capitalization rests comfortably at over 28 trillion naira. Let's take a look at some of the stocks that helped make that happen. Top on that list is Wema Bank PLC and Airtel Africa PLC, both recording a combined gain of 173 naira 54 kobo. On the other hand, that is our losers table. Fitsim Healthcare PLC and N Nigeria Flour Mills PLC led the chart with a combined loss of 1 naira 99 kobo. Now, all of this trading on the Nigeria exchange led to a total of 190 million volume of shares valued at 4.129 billion naira, exchanging hands in 3,893 deals. Well, this is definitely an improvement from yesterday's trading away from the NGX now. Let's see how some of our selected global stocks performed. It's good news all around for FTSE, Dow Jones and Nikkei. UK FTSE bounced back from losses recorded in the previous trading session, closing in the greens at 1.63%. US Dow Jones also maintained a positive trend, finishing strong at 2.05%. But not to be left out, Asian stocks Nikkei closed in the positive range at 0.54%. Well, that's it on the stock market review. We'll take a short break and return with more stories on the foreign scene as well as sports. Just stay with us. Welcome back. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Joe Biden will discuss energy supply, human rights and security cooperation in Saudi Arabia on Friday on a trip designed to reset the U.S. relationship with the country it once pledged to make a pariah on the world stage. The White House said Biden would hold a bilateral meeting with Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz at the Royal Palace in Jeddah, and then the president and his team would have a working session with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, and Saudi ministers at the palace. On the sporting scene, Manchester United signed Christian Eriksen on Friday, with the Denmark midfielder arriving at Old Trafford as a free agent on a 3-year deal. The 30-year-old switch to the Red Devils completes an incredible return after his brush with death last year. Eriksen suffered a cardiac arrest on the pitch in Copenhagen while playing for Denmark at the European Championship and was forced to leave Inter Milan after recovering due to Syria health regulations. And that's the size of our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade Ogrinde. Bye for now.